So I've attached a video to this lesson to get you to remember this, but this is called the quadratic formula. Okay, and so there is a formula to solve that's a little bit more precise to solve quadratics. And this is the formula here. It is a monster. The only thing that you really have to do is first you set your equation equal to 0, you identify a, b, and c, substitute into the formula, and simplify. So I have a few examples. I'm just going to try and kind of go around and kind of show you what you do for this. So first thing you do, this is already set equal to 0, so this is nice. You identify your a, b, and c. If there's no number in that spot, so this is my a spot, it's 1. So my a is 1, my b is 2, and my c is negative 63. Okay, and so we'll do the same thing as factoring does and square roots, just a little bit different. So it's going to be negative, 2 plus or minus, because there's two solutions, 2 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 63 all over 2 times 1. So you just plug it in and we simplify. Simplify what's underneath the square root first. So that's going to be 4 plus 4 times 63 is 252 over 2. X is equal to negative 2 plus or minus 256 over 2. Okay, one of the things that you might want to check is actually 256 is a perfect square. If you put that in, I would check that before you started that simplification process. The square root of 256 is 16. So I'm going to keep simplifying. This is negative 2 plus or minus 16 over 2. Once you have a whole number here, then you're going to break it up into two parts, okay? And this is what this means. It's either negative 2 plus 16 over 2 or negative 2 minus 16 over 2. So negative 2 plus 16 is 14 over 2, which is 7. Negative 2 minus 16 is negative 18 over 2, which is negative 9. And so my solutions for this are going to be negative 9 and 7. Okay? And for these, you could actually use the quadratic formula. Okay? So let's just try another one. So the first thing here is you have to set it equal to 0, much like if you're solving by factoring. That's the secret. This is 8x squared minus 10x is equal to 0. Now, I know that we could easily factor to solve this one, and that would probably be easier. That would be my preferred method. But I just want to remind you that for a problem like this, I want you to be able to identify your a and b term. In this case, a is 8, and b is negative 10. C is actually equal to 0 because there's no c term. So I substitute it in. It's x is equal to negative 10 plus or minus the square root. Now make sure you put parentheses around your b. Negative 10 squared minus 4 times 8 times 0 all over 2 times 8. So x is equal to 10 plus or minus, this ends up being the square root of 100 all over 16. I know I can simplify the square root of 100. The square root of 100 is 10. So I can rewrite this. This is going to be 10 plus 10 over 16 and 10 minus 10 over 16. So my answers are going to be 100 over 16, which is 6.25. Which is equal to 25 over 4, or 6.25, or 0 over 16, which is 0. And so my solutions are going to be 0 and 25/4, or 0 and 6.25. All right, let's try another one. Okay. Let's go with this last one here. Alrighty. Oh, goodness. So I'm going to subtract. I'm going to subtract 4x. So that's 5x squared minus 4x plus 9 is equal to 5. Subtract 5. 5x squared minus 4x plus 4 is equal to 0. Okay, now I know A is equal to 5, B is equal to -4, and C is equal to 4. X is equal to -4 plus or minus the square root of -4 squared minus 4 times 5 times 4 all over 2 times 5. So X is equal to 4 plus or minus, it's going to be 16 minus 80 over 10, which is 4 plus or minus the square root of -64 over 10. Now, the square root of -64 is 8i, because the square root of 64 is 8, and the square root of -1 is I. We're going to go back to what you used to have to do. So when you end up with this complex fraction, what you need to do is you need to find the greatest common factor of 4, 8, and 10, which is equal to 2. So my last step is I'm going to multiply each part of this, or divide each part of this by 2. So I end up with 2 plus or minus 4i over 5. And that's my final answer there. Okay. So let's try another one. In this case, A was -3, B is 8, and C is -7. X is equal to -8 plus or minus the square root of 8 squared minus 4 times -3 times -7 all over 2 times -3. That's going to be 64 minus 84 over -6. X is equal to -8 plus or minus the square root of -20 over -6. Now I'm going to take this -20 and I'm going to simplify. Okay, so my -20, I know 20 divided by 2 is 10, divided by 2 is 5, divided by 5 is 1. So I know that there's going to be 2 on the outside of the radical. I have my negative here, so I know there's going to be an I, and there's going to be a 5 left on the inside. So this is going to be -8 plus or minus 2i radical 5 all over -6. And I do the same thing that I did with the previous problem. I find my greatest common factor of 8, 2, and 6, which is 2. And I divide each part, the outside parts, do not divide the radicals, just the outside parts by 2. So that's going to be -4 plus I radical 5 over -3. And there you go. I'll do one more because I know that this can be quite confusing. If you need it, you can keep paying attention. If you don't, it's okay. You can turn it off. So I subtract 4x. This is going to be negative 2x squared minus x is equal to negative 15. I add 15. Negative 2x squared minus x plus 15 is equal to 0. That I don't want to happen. Okay, in this case, a okay, now it's not drawing for me. There we go. I know that a is negative 2, b is negative 1, and c is 15. So x is equal to negative 1 plus or minus the square root of negative 1 squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a. X is equal to 1 plus or minus. That's going to be 1. No, that's going to be 4 times 2 times 15, which is 120. So it's 1 plus 120 all over negative 4. X is equal to 1 plus or minus the square root of 121 over negative 4. This one here is nicely factorable. Square root of 121 is actually 11 over negative 4. I split it into two parts. I know it could be 1 plus 11 over 4, or it could be 1 minus 11 over 4. 1 plus 11 is 12 over 4, which is 3. 1 minus 11 is negative 10 over 4, which is negative 2.5. And those are my answers. X is going to be negative 2.5, comma,